Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth episode on Walkthrough with Bhagavad Gita by Shipra Uppal. This episode is dedicated towards presenting the fifth chapter, Karma Sannyas Yoga, and sixth chapter, Dhyana Yoga, Atma Sanyam Yoga in a nutshell. Let us begin with our understanding on the essence of the fifth chapter, Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Jai Shri Krishna. In our last episode, in chapter 3, Shri Krishna explained the notion of Nishkam Karma or desireless karma. And in chapter 4, Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga. As we moved one step higher from desireless action to agency-less action means the ability to see inaction in action and action in inaction. As in, we are operating at the level of the Karma Yogi. We express our desires through performing actions, but we diminish our sense of doership by dedicating the results to the Ishvara. The fifth chapter, titled as Karma Sannyas Yoga, began with Arjuna's question to Shri Krishna, and the question was, what is better, Madhusudana? Renouncing all the actions and becoming a monk, or performing action as a Karma Yogi? To which Shri Krishna said, we are active beings constantly making plans for future. Our thoughts get manifested in actions and repeated actions from the habits. Habits become our nature. Nature makes up our character, and that character determines our destiny. But the fact is, we are not human beings on a spiritual journey, but rather we are spiritual beings on a human journey. Every journey starts with one step forward. And in chapter 5, Shri Krishna explains how to take steps in the right direction. As mentioned in Shloka 5.11, it says, Kayena manasa buddhaya kavelairindriyairapihi yoginaha karma kurvantihi sangha tyaktvatma shuddhaye. This shloka says, the yogi, while giving up attachment, performs action with their body, senses, mind, and intellect, only for the purpose of self-purification. Here verses 5.1 to 5.12 says, stay in the world. Arjuna is still confused. Despite of Krishna's explanation in chapter 3, that is Karma Yoga, Arjuna still considers work and renunciation to be mutually exclusive path. Therefore, Shri Krishna elaborates on how an individual who works in a spiritual consciousness is automatically elevated to the level of detachment. This means Nishkam Karma. If one engages in righteous work, offering the results to the God, and all the while keeping alert to the ultimate goal, then such work becomes his worship. This means the path of Karma Yoga offers a progressive mean of spiritual development while staying in the world. We can take an example. Just like as a lotus leaf is surrounded by water but remains completely dry. Just like that, one can stay in the material world, still remain aloof from its effects, or may I say, ill effects. The next theme is the theme of three doers. Verses 5.13 to 5.16 considers three doers. While living in this world, however, a man can easily assume the mentality that I am the director, controller, and the breadwinner of my life. But in reality, Shri Krishna explains there are three doers in any activity. And these three doers are the individual soul, the supreme soul, and the material nature. Individual soul, Jivatma, supreme soul, Paramatma, and material nature, Prakriti. The individual soul can only desire. That desire is then sanctioned by God, who resides within the heart as the Supreme Soul. And then the ability to perform the activities come from the material nature in the form of resources. Just as an example, if you see an infant who lacks the ability to walk but can still pretend to do so with the help of the supporters. So, in the same way, the individual soul is constantly supported by the Supreme Soul in the heart, who provides all the knowledge, inspiration, and facilities in the form of resources to take the karma. The next verses, from verse number 5.17 to 5.26, talks about the theme of developing the equivision. Since the Supreme Soul resides in all the living beings, the Karma Yogi is able to see the presence of God in every life form, be it a plant, an animal, a human, a bird, an insect, as a temple of a god. In this way, utmost respect is given to every entity, different bodies with different qualities, yet each and every entity has a common factor, and that common factor is the soul and the presence of Paramatma in each body. Thus, the Karma Yogi develops a equivision that is free from racism, free from nationalism, free from ageism, free from sexism, and free from the appearance that whether somebody looks beautiful or somebody looks ugly. Verse 5.29 speaks of peace. Here, this chapter emphasizes that life is temporary in this world. We come in this world with nothing, and we will leave with nothing. Our claims to proprietorships and attachment to the assets that we have made creates fear, insecurity, and conflict in our mind. But here, as per the Bhagavad Gita, and even Sri Krishna says that change is the constant theme in the world. So, our relationships are also changing, the environment is also changing, our possessions are also changing, and our desires are also changing to the extent that we develop a sense of detachment and understanding to the Supreme Lord. And we develop the sense of detachment even from our loved one over a period of time. Sometimes the one that we think, we cannot go without is the son that we have let go of, keeping the sense of proprietorship. Now we consider that we are just the caretakers to that extent that we can experience a sense of peace within that, yes, I am there with a given role within me, but I am not taking any ownership of it. So Sri Krishna dearly loves those who follows his teaching, and after life, when they complete their life, then they attain him in the form of salvation, what we say mukti. And finally, this is what we say attain peace. But why do we have to attain peace after death? Who have seen what happens after death? Why can't we attain peace while the time we are alive? So, the act of performing detachment and not taking the ownership of the things as a doer. We are just an observer. Nothing is in our control. Whatever is happening, we're just observing it is happening. So we are here to just to live our lives and not to get attached with the things or relatives or people or assets or money or jewelry or anything. Just practice detachment and attain the peace, moksha, while you are alive. Now we begin the understanding of the essence of chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, Atma Sanyam Yoga. Atma Sanyam Yoga means control yourself. Shri Krishna gives an exhaustive coverage of meditation in this chapter. The key point for us is to understand the vision of a meditator, how a meditative person, a yogi, or who is in a process of meditation looks at the world. What is his perspective of looking at people, looking at world? A meditator views all the objects, people, and situation with equivision. That means he has a sense of equanimity towards all. He does not see them as different from himself. That is, he sees his own reflection in all the beings and all the beings as a part of his own self. In other words, the vision of self realization. The easiest and topmost path of self realization is Bhakti Yoga. That means the path of devotion. You know why? Because devotion, bhakti, हमें झुकना सिखाती है. No matter whatever is your position in the life, you may be a minister of a state or maybe at the president of some any institution. But whenever you enter into a temple, हम कितने भी बड़े हो जाएं, मंदिर में जाने के बाद हमारा सर झुक जाता है and we fold our hands. So भक्ति हमें झुकना सिखाती है. As mentioned in verse 6.6, it says, Bandhurahatma manastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha annatmanastu shatruvai varte tatmaiva shatruvat. So shloka number 6.6, it says, for him who has conquered the mind is the best of the friend, and for the one who has failed to control the mind, his mind will remain his greatest enemy. Now, verses 1 to verse 9 talks about the theme of enemy. You know, friends and enemy are both inside us. The quiet mind is the best of the friend, and the turbulent mind is the worst of the enemy. The mind subdued and kept under control is the greatest friend to lead one to the eternal peace. And even so, the turbulent mind poisoned with lust, greed, leads to destruction. So, control of the mind is essential for spiritual progress. The word Atma in this context refers to the mind, including the senses and the bodily organs. Verses 6.10 to 6.36 talks of Ashtanga Yoga. A way to control the mind is through Dhyana Yoga, through which one meditates. In preparing for meditation, Shri Krishna urges us to renounce selfish desires through Karma Yoga. Unless the mind is purified of selfish desires for the most part of our life, it will not be able to meditate properly. इसलिए तो लोग कहते हैं ध्यान में बैठते हैं, meditate करने लगते हैं, तो we get so many thoughts. So it is only through the intellect, the buddhi, our higher self can control the mind. Furthermore, we should lead a moderate lifestyle. In other words, moderation means not overdoing anything, not going overboard in eating, sleeping, indulging in anything or in any sensual objects. As it says, no, excess of everything is bad. The end result of this preparation is a gradual withdrawal, or what we say uparati, from the outside world, leading to the mind settling in the eternal's essence, that is, the self settling into the self. Hearing about the strictness, Arjuna expresses his amazement. He said, "This practice seems impractical and intolerable." He said, "To discipline the mind is more difficult than to control the raging wind." To which Shri Krishna said, "Disciplining the mind is essential, and it is possible through appropriate practice and detachment." Verses 6.37 to 6.45 talks about the theme of success and failures. Hearing about the difficult Ashtanga Yoga process raised as a new worry for Arjuna. And that was what happened if one faithfully takes to the yogic process but later fails without perfecting his spiritual journey. So as a failed yogi will seem to land in a no man's land, who has failed to attain spiritual satisfaction and wasted his opportunity for the worldly pleasures. So Shri Krishna soothes this concern and soothes Arjuna's fear by explaining that whoever takes up the genuine spiritual process is eternally benefited even if they don't perfect it. Perfect it means किसी को अगर सिद्धि नहीं भी मिले तो. If we don't complete it in one lifetime, we can carry on in the next life form from the same point, and the individual soul thus evolves towards a spiritual perfection. Shloka number 6.46 to 6.47 talks about the theme of why yogi? Why do we enter the yoga? Here the chapter concludes with a ray of hope. Shri Krishna reaffirms that the perfection and the goal of yogas, of all the yoga system, is to help the individual to become fully conscious of God at all the times. All the yoga system means everything is a part of yoga. Yoga means union. Even a marriage system, marriage institution is a union of two people who meet each other and decide to spend a whole lifetime together for the accomplishment of many purposes. Through all the yoga systems are essentially beneficial, but the easiest and the most efficient and essential path of the yoga system is the bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion. In this age, today's age, the primary practice of bhakti yoga is through mantra meditation and chanting of holy names of God. Holy names of God like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Through this process, any person from any background can attain spiritual perfection and experience all the benefits. Shloka number 6.47 talks about, and of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, think of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united within me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. And here we complete the summary of chapter 5 and chapter 6 in this episode. It is important to note that there are many schools of thought and perspective when it comes to the understanding of Bhagavad Gita, and the information presented here nearly scratches the surface of the topic. This podcast presents a microscopic fragment of the broader knowledge of this greatest epic. Connect with me to get the deeper insight on how the shlokas perfectly resonates with the current situation in our lives and how we can apply the teachings of Bhagavad Gita to transform our lives. शेयर कीजिए अपने experiences, अपनी growth मेरे साथ on Walkthrough with Bhagavad Gita by Shipra Uppal. Thank you so much. No one's life is perfect. We are all born to experience the imperfections and sufferings. But imperfections and sufferings are all about learning, no? How would I evolve if I don't suffer? How would I enhance my understanding on life if I don't suffer? How would I educate myself if my imperfections don't bother me? Imagine a life where everything is fair. Then what's the learning? Imagine a life where I get what I want. Then where is the evolution? Why should I work hard when everything just go my way? Well, growth is a consequence of going against the gravity, and going against the gravity invites sufferings. Is there a formula of utilizing the perspective of pain to grow? Like we say, pain is inevitable but suffering is optional? Yes, there is. And the formula lies in Bhagavad Gita. Well, there are books and scriptures that talks about the pain and offers some solution too. Because every book has detail. But Bhagavad Gita has principles. And these principles can be subjectively applied in every individual life context, in every age. To me, Bhagavad Gita has been my guiding force, as what happens to us as our life experiences is inevitable, but how we respond to it is our choice. Namaskar, I am Shipra Uppal. I am an NLP coach and practitioner, a chakra healer, a voiceover artist, a leadership coach, and the founder of SARATHI Voices, Visuals and Spirituality. Apart from being an entrepreneur, I am also a soft skill trainer, an author, a researcher, a corporate event management, and a preacher of Bhagavad Gita too. At SARATHI, I conduct NLP sessions blended with spirituality and help people to connect with the supreme element and observe an upliftment in every aspect of their lives. I shall be speaking on this platform. आइए बातों बातों में सारथी के साथ भागवत गीता के आध्यात्म के सार को साझा करें ऑन भागवत गीता, अ वॉक थ्रू फॉर लाइफ विद शिप्रा उप्पल.